All right, we got the Fezzari Shafer. I converted it to a 1x because that GRX 400 2x nonsense, I was not about it. Put a 1050 cassette at the back, put a GRX crankset in it. It just started out a 2x, took it out, put the 42 in the front. Now we're going to ride some gravel. Riding onto one of my runs in Ravenna Park. I love this run. It's a little 10-mile loop that I do. 11 mile, 10 mile, 11 mile, between 10 to 13, just depending on which routes I go, if I double back on anything, So 45 millimeter tires, Maxxis Ramblers, DT Swiss 460R, laced to Riot 24 spoke hubs, changed the handlebar, changed a lot of things. I'm gonna make a review on this bike. It's a Fezzari Shafer like you saw in the first picture, but let's go make that run. Let's get it. Let's go do some ascents. Let's go. All right, we're making the climb into Ravenna. Now we're up in there. Just got off the street. I was a little annoyed because a car was riding up on behind me. So I cut that part out. Anyway, this is the whole reason I love gravel, is because you can go to places where there are no cars. I seem to be a lot happier when I'm away from the road. So, as someone who's been riding on the road for years, it's something you'll do. And we all do it as roadies. But I'm not competitive. I'm just riding to have some fun, commuting, things like that. Pick up some grocery, run some errands. So if I can avoid cars, I love it. So recently when I bought this bike, it was a 2x, as I mentioned, and I couldn't stand it. I mean, maybe if it was worked better, then I would have enjoyed it, but there was always chain rub. And then when I took it to the mechanic, I took that thing into the mechanics about 6 times for the front derailleur issue. I just kept taking it in. So being the owner of this bike, in some ways, I do love the bike when it works, but it's been in the shop a lot. So eventually I just ended up getting the parts together so that one day when I could just switch it over to a 1x, because I was just like, you know what, 20 gears is overrated if it doesn't shift cleanly. So let me just say that it was not shifting cleanly when I first got this bike. The shifting was poor. The shifting performance was poor. And then over time, I just took that front derailleur off, got a new rear derailleur, because eventually that GX 400 got bent out, so I had to replace that. And I was waiting for that day. I was waiting. I had the chain ring ready so that when the 2x failed, it just kept failing. Everything about the system kept failing. The first thing to get messed up was the chain rings on the original crankset. They just got bent. So I took it, the mechanic was like, hey, these chain rings are bent. I was like, how does a chain ring get bent like that? He's like, I don't know. So the chain ring was bent, so I had to replace the chain ring. So instead of replacing the chain ring, I just went ahead and got a whole new crankset, the GRX crankset 2x, knowing that, okay, if the 2x fails, I'll just take off the chain rings of the GRX and put on a 1x, a narrow wide, which is what ended up happening when the rear derailleur failed and that got bent. I've not crashed this bike, and I've had bent chain rings and a bent derailleur. So that pissed me. I was not happy about that. Mechanic was like, oh, the derailleur hanger might be bent too. I ended up getting 2 extra ones from Fezzari. The derailleur hanger was not bent. It was fine. It was just that the derailleur got bent somehow. No impact again. And the reason I noticed because my chain was dropping, and so, oh, look at this, derailleur's bent to the back, it's not holding it. So, when I was riding,
10 speed serves me well.
Exactly, you know what I'm saying? You can hear me, I'm saying 10 speed serves me well, because, nah, man, that 20 speed GRX, the way they put that drivetrain together was trash. But the price I paid for the whole bike complete was less than they sell the frames for now, by $200. So it was a good deal. But if I'd known better, I'd have just stripped a lot of the things off that bike and just put a drivetrain that I wanted on it, and just said F it, because it would have been better. And actually, in the future, the next bike I ever purchase, I'm just gonna build it from the ground up, and then I'm gonna put all the components I want on it. Because what I realize is I don't really like taking components off bikes unless it's for a project. Like if I buy a bike to take it off and sell it, But it's hard to take apart a bike that works, you know. So so that part of it is a little bit sad. But the better I get at becoming a bike mechanic, the more likely I want to just build from frame. I'm comfortable with purchasing wheels, the type of crankset I would want, the type of handlebars I'd want. You know, and when you become riding for a little bit and you get more specific, and then you start to look at the bikes you own and you realize, man, I done changed everything on all of these bikes anyway. Like both of the bikes I bought, I ended up changing so much about them. Like even this Fezzari, low key, like it doesn't feel like I've changed a lot, but I've changed so much. The handlebars are different. This is my second set of wheels that I got for this. I've since gotten a carbon set of wheels. So, you know, I'm going to sell all the stuff that I don't need, obviously, to recoup some of the finances. But ultimately, the levers are the same. The handlebar is different. Handlebar tape's different. The tires are now different. And the wheel set. The crank set is different. You know, so basically, the rear derailleur is different. So, you know, by that point, you darn near building from scratch anyway. And then you might as well just put all the pieces that you want on it to begin with. I felt like the original bars on the Fezzari were too flared out. They were too wide for me, and the flare and the position and the drops was very awkward. And so what I did is use the old handlebars from my old bike, which I'm glad I kept them, and I just compared them, and I'm like, I really like the old bike, the feel of that going in the drop. So I got something that was more similar to the width of my old ones. I believe these are 440, but also the flare at the bottom isn't as grand, so your hands aren't as splayed out when you get into the drops. So the only thing I can say about that, it's easy to get from the drops to the hoods with these handlebars, a lot more easier than the other ones, and I just feel more comfortable and stable. Yeah, so I've just been rocking it as a 10-speed. I mean, I basically changed everything about this. I don't compete at all. I've never competed. I've never engaged in a bike race in my life. I don't know that I would. I mean, I probably would just for the fun of it, just to see what it's like. But I don't have any real desires to do it. But I wouldn't rule it out. It's not that I wouldn't. If I had an opportunity, I'd try it maybe. But because of that, I don't feel I need anything more than 10 speed. I don't really feel like I need anything more than 9 speed, honestly. And I don't go on any group rides or anything. But hey, that may change. I might find a community of people that I feel like I want to ride with. And so maybe the requirements of my bike will be different, but I just do a lot of solo riding, and then anybody I've ridden with, my partner is one of the people that I'll ride with, but at this point she doesn't ride as much and train like she used to, so her strength isn't what it once was, but it'll come back, you know. But you know, so meaning like I don't ever have to go that hard on my bike, right? Like she's not going to go super hard on it. I can chill out, and the 10 speed is therefore more than enough. I can, because of the range, you know, I'm more about the range of gears that you get than how many gears you get. Like 20 gears was great, but it shifted poorly, and the range of gears was about similar to this. At the bottom end, the gear ratio, I lose a tiny bit, because I ended up putting a 2x with a 11 to 42 cassette, which gave me mad range on that GRX. It just shifted like crap. So it wasn't worth it. This is just 42 in the front. So I missed the top speed of that 46, but I feel like this chainring is better, so that might, you know, lessen the impact, because the chainring is more sturdy, I feel, than the doubles, the narrow wides are. Someone tell me if I'm wrong. Just the feeling I get when I'm on the single narrow wide chainring, it feels like a stronger transmission than, you know, the too flimsy. Because the chainrings are just hecka flimsy, and you know if they're bending because of the power I'm putting under them, they're just not that strong. I feel that. How can you get that much power out of them if I'm bending it somehow, right? So I feel like I'm transferring more power, even though I have a lesser. I have a lesser top speed on my chainring technically. I don't feel like my rides are slower because my shifting is crisper, right? If that makes any sense. And I'm not dropping any chains and nothing. So I've been going on these rides with the 10 speed, and it's been perfect. When I put on a new set of wheels, I had to re-index it. I was able to do that myself. I'm chasing that dude, by the way. So don't get it twisted. You see that homie up in there? I'm chasing him. I'm going to go a different way, and you're not going to see if I overtake him or not, but I do. Because I know this park pretty well. So I am chasing that guy while I'm talking and narrating this video. He came up earlier, and I've been chasing him. So I go over there to look, see if he's coming. I look over to him. I'm like, all right, I can take him. Because I'm going to do this downhill right here. This gets rooty, too. This part gets rooty. You gotta dodge some roots or just roll over some roots. You see that? Boom, them roots. Okay, but if you're able to maintain a little speed, those roots will slow down your speed. But if you can get a little speed up here, I can beat him through. There's these sections that cross the 99 because I'm in Woodland Park right now. So the Ravenna run includes going through Woodland Park, which I also love. This is a great place to ride. But you see, homie's coming through that way. I don't see him come past there. I look back. He's behind me now. I'm like, yeah, I got him. I didn't get it on camera because that'd be aggressive trying to film homie behind me or whatever. But I did overtake. So for the pride's sake of the speed of this bike, and just to tell you, these Fezzaris with a 10 speed, you're not losing anything, man. If you can ride, you're cool. So this is just a route that I love. You know what I mean? Like, that's the beauty of gravel. Like I said before, is that you can just go places without cars. And any route where I'm in places like this, you see the graffitied walls, the woody area, it's dope. Like, I feel like this is the kind of way I want to ride. You know, when I'm on the street, it's cool. I try to find as much bike lane, and I try to find as many places that are made for bikes and don't try to ride in any, you know, because I'm just riding in the city, so and this infrastructure in the city for bikes is really good. It's very much improved over the last 10 years. And so there's a lot of places to ride around the Seattle area that you could avoid cars. And that's kind of one of my main goals, is to find kind of all the routes that are mixed terrain and just have the least amount of cars. You know, because it just feels safer, it feels more fun, and I'm on my bike to try to have a good time. Like I said, I'm not competitive and I'm not racing, so I'm not really concerned about taking any sort of risk or having to go faster or having to, you know, train for anything. I'm just guided by, hey, what's the most fun place to ride? Am I getting exercise? Am I getting outdoors for a little bit? That's the Peacock. The Peacock was on the roof. I'm passing the zoo. Yeah. The Peacock was on the roof. I straight looked over. The Peacock's on the roof yelling at me. They let that peacock just roam around. I guess it knows where its food and shelter is, so it comes back. But I straight saw that peacock on the roof of the zoo. I was like, what's going on? That's crazy. That little squawk, if you rewind it, that little squawk you hear, that's a peacock. I still see him behind me, so I'm talking smack. You know how it is with some of us, even though we're not racing, air quotes, we kind of always have a little race going on with the other commuters and pedestrians. A little secret war in your mind, like, oh, this fool's not going to overtake me.